In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to connect with the JSP and MySQL database. So let's open the MySQL workbench and create our database. So let me log into my root, and the first thing we are going to create is a schema. So on the schemas, we have few schemas already there. So I'm going to create a new schema. So on the icon here, you can press on the create new schema. It will ask for the schema name, and let me name this as web employee tracker. So I'm going to call this schema as web employee tracker and press apply. This will execute and create our web employee tracker schema, and you should see the schema in your schemas. If you don't see that, right click and press refresh all, then you will be able to see the schema. Expand the schema and tables. We don't have any tables in this schema. We are going to create a new table. So right click, create table, and let's call this table as EMP, and I'm going to have few fields here. The first field that I'm going to have is ID, which I'm going to make it as a primary key, and auto increment. So I no need to enter the data for the ID, it will automatically increment, and the data type is integer. So the next column I'm going to have is name, so I'll let default as varchar2 45, email varchar 45, and the last one is green card, so whether the employee having a green card or not. I make it as integer, so it will be either 0 or 1. Since I don't have the boolean, I'll make it as integer, and that's all. So let's apply this, and before that, yeah, we have a primary key already for the ID. Yes. Apply. It automatically writes the SQL command for you, and press apply and execute. This creates the table for us, employee table, and let's browse this. I'm going to add few data here. So name, add, once we finish entering our data, let me apply this. So it creates the SQL commands for us, and apply, finish. Now this is the data we have. So now we want to write the Java code that will fetch this data from the MySQL database and display it in our Java code. So let's open the Eclipse, and I'm going to create a new dynamic web project, and let me call this as employee DBTest. I'll leave the default and press next, and let me generate the web XML code and finish it. So this created our new project, employee DBTest. Whenever you want to connect to MySQL with your Java code, you need the JDBC driver for that. So I have already downloaded the driver, and I have already put this driver in your drive, OneDrive, so you can download it from your OneDrive, and have another context which will be acting as our connection pool that we discussed earlier. So first we'll copy the library, and it should be under web inf, and under the library paste this. So your inf file, web inf library has the JDBC driver that will talk with your MySQL. And now I'm going to copy the context file and paste inside the meta inf, and let's open the context.xml. So the context.xml is a resource file that will have the parameters that need to connect for our database. So the resource must have a resource name. So I'm going to change the resource name for this as web emp tracker, and you see here maximum active is 20. That means we need 20 connections maximum in the connection pool, and maximum ideal is 5. That is, there should be at least 5 connections ready, and maximum wait is 10 seconds. So the user will wait for connection maximum 10 seconds. Then we have connect to our database. So we'll enter our, replace the username and password. So I have the username is root and the password is admin123, and the driver class will leave it default, and the URL is going to connect to our schema. So change the schema name with our schema name that we have in our created in our MySQL. So our schema name was web emp tracker. So you need to type exactly the same. So this is the name of the schema and this is the name of your resource. So they are not necessarily they must be same. You can give a different name for the resource. So under the Java resource, under the source, I'm going to create a new package, and I'm going to call this package as com.emp.db, and we will create a new servlet that's going to fetch the data from the database and display them. So I'm going to call this servlet as test emp db, and I just leave the default and press finish. This will create a whole bunch of code that helps us to make our life easier in writing the code. So first we'll start with resource injection. So we already have a resource context here, which is web emp tracker. This is our resource name. So we will inject this in our servlet so that we no need to enter the username, password, and connection string, all those things, which is already in the context. So first we'll do the resource injection. So to do the resource injection, we'll make it as global. So on your inside your class, but not inside any of the method, just type the resource at and within the bracket give the name of the resource. So our resource name is, instead of I type, let me copy from here and paste so I don't make any mistakes. And you see there is a error here because it has to import the library. So move your mouse and press the import resource. So this will remove your error. The location is wrong. Put it below your constructor. Now the second thing is I want to create a data source. So we have created a data source. Again, we need to import the library. Move your mouse and click on the data source. So there are three options. Choose the JavaX SQL. Let's now write the code in do get. So we will remove the default code there and we'll write our own code. So there are 5 steps that we are going to do. First, we'll establish the connection. Second, we need to create the statement, and third one, we need to execute the statement. And then we'll process the result set, and at the final close the connection. So these are the 5 steps that we are going to do in the database operation. So first one, we need to establish the connection. So we use connection. We'll create a connection object. So let's create some objects for connection, statement, and result set. Now you have these errors. We can fix the errors by moving it and click on the connection Java SQL, and the statement is Java SQL also, and result set is also Java SQL. Right. Now let's establish the connection. To establish the connection, we are just going to use our resource that we already have there. So connection equal to data source dot get connection. So this will establish the connection. Now we have an error here. So it has to put our get connection within the try catch to handle the exception. So whenever we need write a database connection, there could be an exception occurs. So we need to put this inside a try catch block. So we'll put a quick fix, add it into a try catch. Now the second statement. So all these statements should be within our try catch. So next one, I'm going to create a SQL statement. So let's do that. So my statement is select all from EMP. The EMP is the table just now we have created in our database, EMP. only this info there. So statement equal to connection dot create statement. This will create the statement. Now the next step, we need to execute the statement, SQL statement. So we are using statement dot execute query, and within this we give the query. So my query is select all from EMP, then process the result set. So what we are going to do here is we are going to process the result set, display this. So since we want to display, we need to get a connection or the handle to the print writer. Let's do that here. So let me create a handle to the print writer. So this gets the handles for the our print writer, and I can see the type of our content type, that is going to responses going to be a text, and it's going to be a plain text. And print writer have an error. We need to go and add the library for that. Alright, let me see this one. And here in the process, we are going to have a loop. So I'll start a loop while the result set. Yeah, I need to store the results in the result set. So the statement will be executed and the result set will be passed to this result set. So all the values, so we have how many rows here? We have 5 rows and we have 4 columns. Each row has 4 columns. So all the values will be passed to my result set. So I'm going to process row by row. So my result set dot next. So that means I'm saying if we have the next row, then I'm going to read the email from our result set. This is the column name that we have in our table email. I'm going to display it on the response window. Alright, done. So it's going to loop for each row, read the email column and display it. So this is to test whether our email has been successfully, our database connection has been successfully read and displayed. Now we need to close all our connections. So first let me close the result set, then let me close the statement, then let me close the connection. Yes. Save the file. Let's try to execute it and see. So right click and run as run on server. I will try to use always this Tomcat server and finish. If everything is right, you should see all the emails here. Yes, we have got all the emails. So in the next tutorial, I'll show you how to use the MVC pattern to do the list of all the values in a table.